Hello my children, today I will read to you from the book The Devil's Way by the author Les Mis A. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Here we begin. Are you ready? He walked down the cobbled streets in the old quarters of the city of Florence. A dark cloak-like overcoat hung from his broad shoulders. Though his head was uncovered, from a distance it looked like he was wearing a hood. As he approached closer, one could make out a handsome face, with a few thick strands of hair falling down against his broad forehead and his light-skinned face. He was tall and slim. His jaw was firm and strong. There was an odd lightness about his eyes, and a small curve to his lips, as if there were something terribly funny only he knew the answer to. He had the bearing of a man who exuded authority and confidence without ever having to put any effort to that effect. He pleasantly nodded to people as they passed by him, and they on their part felt oddly attracted and comforted in his presence. As soon as they walked away from him, they would feel as if they had just recovered from some kind of a magic spell. Enjoying the effect that he had on the people around him, the cloaked one began to whistle softly for his own listening pleasure. He continued to amble his way across the streets and piazzas, lazily surveying the crowds as they went past him. There were a lot of tourists from different corners of the world. There were people from England, France, Japan, Korea, China, and of course, America. He looked at all of them with a mixture of amused nonchalance and contempt. The wealthy tourists in their famous designer gear were being chaperoned by their well-groomed tour operators. The nouveau riche Asian tourists were carrying their camcorders, cameras, and water bottles, standing out amongst the many young backpackers wearing their worn boots, grubby shirts, and jeans. One intense-looking young tourist, an American in his early 20s, engaged in an animated discussion with an Italian guide. He caught the cloaked one's attention. Who shall henceforth be known as the enchanter? The young man was arguing with the guide over the fee he owed him. You promised to show me the sunset point that was next to the grand 16th century palace of the Duke of Florence, but I reached it before the sunset, so that entitles me to a discount, the young man said. No, Signore Malcolm, protested the guide. I promised to bring you to Sunset Point, not at sunset. How can it be the sunset point, when there is no sunset, my friend? Submitted Malcolm. The enchanter decided to intervene. Take the money and be gone, he ordered the hapless guide, who first had the look of surprise and then of compliance. See, father, he addressed him, and quietly took the money from Malcolm and slinked away. The enchanter was indeed a priest, as one could tell from his robes clearly visible under his overcoat. Malcolm said, "Oh, that was really cool, Your Holiness. You certainly made him see sense very quickly indeed." The enchanter turned to face Malcolm and gave him a soft smile. I did, didn't I?